Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to our YouTube channel once again. And it is my hope and prayer that this video is actually going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I am fine, as you can see. Kisumu is also fantastic. And maybe you could also let me know where you are watching the video from, the county or the country, in case you are out of the republic. Ladies and gentlemen, what next for Rigathi Gachagua, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, after William Samoei Arap Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, clearly locked him out of King Charles' visit to Kenya? What next for him? Because I've always told you on this particular platform that in politics, nothing happens out of mere coincidence. And that everything in politics is normally well planned, well scripted, and executed to achieve a specific political objective. The drama we witnessed yesterday were actually planned to achieve a particular objective. And that objective, we can all guess who is going to be affected the most. But the question is, what next for Rigathi Gachagua? Because two things stood out clearly yesterday. The first thing that stood out for me was the role that was being played by Musalia Mudavadi. At some point, we all witnessed William Ruto introducing the king to Musalia Mudavadi. That's significant. And why do you think that stood out? It stood out because in this country, there is a strong feeling that William Ruto is currently sabotaging his deputy in favor of Musalia Mudavadi. And that's why when Musalia Mudavadi was given those roles, Kenyans went ahead and even created those Photoshop photos where Rigathi was outside the window, peeping through whatever was happening. So that's the first thing that stood out. And it's actually related to Rigathi Gachagua. The second thing that stood out for me was the fact that Raila Odinga actually joined William Ruto and King Charles at status. Why is that also significant? It's significant because Rigathi Gachagua told Kenyans, not once, not twice, but severally, especially their core support base, that his role is one, to ensure that Raila Odinga does not step inside State House, and that he has planted traps, ameweka mitego kila mahali. So the question is, why was he locked out, then Raila Odinga allowed, despite the fact that his role was kuweka mtego?
Usikuwe na wasiwasi, tuko pale, rais anaendelea mambo ya uchumi, sisi ndio tunaangalia. Tukiona hiyo mzee karibu na jaribu kukaribia Ikulu, tumeweka mtego kila pahali kwa ukuta, hakuna pahali anaweza pitia. Na akijaribu tuta deal na yeye. Tumekubaliana? Chie mimi. Hiyo mniwachie. Kazi ya kuchunga rais mimi niko hapo. Hiyo watu wakijaribu kukaribia State House, nimeweka mitego kila njia wanaweza pitia, hakuna pahali wanaweza pitia. Kwa hivyo nyinyi msikuwe na wasiwasi. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka niseme asanti kwa ile maombi mlitupatia.
So what next for Rigathi Gachagua? Because after Rigathi Gachagua was frustrated like that, he landed into the country yesterday. Today, Rigathi Gachagua chaired some cabinet subcommittee meeting in his office in Karen. Again, I've gone through those photos. Clearly, Musalia Mudavadi was missing from those photos. Why do you think Musalia Mudavadi was missing from those photos? The truth of the matter is that when William Ruto appointed Musalia Mudavadi, he made it very clear that Musalia Mudavadi was going to be the third in command. And some of the roles of Musalia Mudavadi was to supervise government ministries. Almost all cabinet ministers were supposed to be supervised by Musalia Mudavadi. So if you are chairing a subcommittee of the cabinet and the prime cabinet secretary is not there, what's the need? I also noted that Moses Kuria was also missing from that meeting. I'm not sure whether Moses Kuria is part of that subcommittee, but of course it can be related to their beef. And of course, Professor Kithure Kindiki was also missing. I don't want to assume that Professor Kithure Kindiki is still bitter by the fact that Rigathi Gachagua was picked as the deputy. But let us not get into those for now. In this video, ladies and gentlemen, I want to try and figure out what next for Rigathi Gachagua after he was locked out of that visit by King Charles. Because, you know, if he had been allowed to participate, it would have sent very good signals for him because currently he's trying to be the Mount Kenya kingpin. Whatever happened yesterday is going to affect his vision of becoming Mount Kenya kingpin. Forget about being the Kenyan leader.
All contests about kingpins have been suspended because the king himself is in town.
But before you do all those, in case you're watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, allow me to dive in. But before I dive in, allow me also to take this opportunity to thank the following people. You are seeing their names on the screens there for the coffee which they sent to me earlier. Thank you so much. It goes a long way in supporting the channel. Ladies and gentlemen, let us dive in. Let us dive in. What next? If I were to advise Rigathi Gachagua, I'd review several options for him and then look at the best one for him, politically speaking. So for me, the first thing I'd ask Rigathi Gachagua to do is to confront William Ruto over this issue. And as the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, I am sure that there are certain things and questions he can actually ask the President. One of them is whether his team was actually involved in the planning of this meeting, and whether it was deliberate for him to be sent out when the king was coming into the country. He should seek for clarification from the President. For me, that would be the first thing. Just ask him, boss, we had a very big event in the Republic of Kenya. I was away. Why was I locked out? Okay, I was away, but why was my office not involved? If I were him, that would be the beginning. Then probably William Ruto would give you his thoughts. And by the way, we might blame Ruto, yet it's the king who didn't want Rigathi Gachagua around him. But if it's true, this was engineered by Ruto and the team, then he must confront him and ask him those very difficult questions. That should be number one. Number two, for me, is that politics is local. So if I were him, I'd actually retreat back to the mountain and then rally the mountain behind me, the way I had begun. Because something tells me that those moves are actually the basis or the genesis of his problems. I'd go back to the mountain, then try and consolidate the mountain. Once he succeeds in consolidating the mountain, then he will be able to earn that respect. But I've always told you guys that if there is one thing that William Ruto will never allow to happen, it can happen, but he will not allow it to happen, is for Rigathi Gachagua to take control of Mount Kenya. William Ruto worked so hard to win the support of Mount Kenya. And because he worked so hard, there is no way Rigathi Gachagua will be allowed to take control of Mount Kenya, so that when William Ruto wants to go to the mountain, he has to go through Rigathi Gachagua. But that's the first thing. By that, it would simply mean that Rigathi Gachagua has declared total war with Ruto. And the advantage with that is that Azimio is on the other side, which means if you look at it critically, he can then team up with Azimio. Ruto will be forced to work with him. Just the same way Ruto threatened Uhuru, and Uhuru had to work with him until the second term. And of course, even if Raila were to team up with Ruto, the other alternative will be then for Kalonzo to pull out of Azimio from this side, then Rigathi Gachagua to pull out of Kenya Kwanza, then they can form a team. But the best thing is for him to first of all go and consolidate. Because as long as he's not controlling Mount Kenya, he can be discarded anytime, any day, any hour, and nothing will happen. Number three, and this is very, very important. It is now high time for Rigathi Gachagua to reduce unnecessary noise and focus on important things. The stories about traps, they don't make sense. The stories about Mlema, our coffee, our blah, 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 don't make sense. Importantly, 48 laws of power number 1 is very clear that you should never outshine the master. I know Rigathi Gachagua might not know, but by claiming that is the one who delivered the mountain to Ruto, is trying to outshine the master. It has never happened like that. So he must figure out, how am I going to reduce this unnecessary noise? How? You threaten how you are going to deal with Raila, how you are going to lay traps there, how you are the kingpin of the mountain. The other side, you want to fight Sijui who. He has to reduce those unnecessary noise. The fourth option for him is to make tactical retreat. It's always called surrender tactics. Surrender. If you feel the boss is fighting you and you know the reason, just surrender. Support the president. Win his trust back. Once the trust is won, then you plot. Otherwise, if he continues like that, he should ask Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga fought Mwai Kibaki until Mwai Kibaki lost election. There was no way Mwai Kibaki was going to let Raila Odinga become the president. So Mwai Kibaki saw himself at night. But if you look at it critically, if Raila Odinga had made a tactical retreat, because by that time, you know, Mwai Kibaki had just won the presidency, he was involved in an accident, Raila Odinga campaigned for him on a wheelchair. If Raila Odinga had made some tactical retreat and let those guys just be, then by the time Kibaki was recovering, maybe you would have seen that Raila Odinga was not bad after all. You never know. Maybe Raila Odinga would be the president of the Republic of Kenya today. So he must make that tactical retreat. If he won't make that tactical retreat, he will be dumped. Because I'm not sure whether he can hold Ruto hostage, like Ruto held Uhuru. You know, Ruto held Uhuru hostage because Ruto had the support of the Kalenjin, fully behind him. He had the support of his URPT. And lastly, he must rebrand. You see, today, Kenyans are not sympathetic to Rigathi Gachagua because of his Dio mentality, because of being the Kikuyu representative. When Rigathi Gachagua talks, you'd imagine he's talking on behalf of the Kikuyu salon. Even the trip he was sent out to go and check out of the country, purely for the interest of the Kikuyu nation. Most Kenyans didn't take him seriously. So he must come back and rebrand. Then he can also now take advantage and win the sympathy by making lemonade out of lemon, which Ruto is actually provided him with. I don't know what you think, but that's my take. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. And by the way, why do you think Musalia Mudavadi boycotted Rigathi Gachagua's meeting in Karen? Ama you think I'm just thinking too much? Until next time, Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.